So tell me about this book, Kierkegaardmysteriet. What is it about?
Okay, well, it is a crime novel. It's a literary crime novel, and it is told through the narrator, Daniel Peters, and he is an American who's living in Copenhagen, and he's working down at the Kierkegaard Research Center as a translator. He translates Kierkegaard from Danish into English. At the very beginning of the novel, there's a funeral service in Church of Our Lady, Vorfus, and you find out that Daniel's boss, the director of the Kierkegaard Center, has been murdered. And then you also find out that an unknown Kierkegaard manuscript has been stolen. So that's the mystery element of it. Another component that's important is the narrator, this American translator, Daniel, he has a condition called Asperger's syndrome. So it makes it a little bit different kind of a novel because it's being filtered through his thoughts, his way of thinking. If you're not familiar with Asperger's, it's a condition that affects emotional and social interaction. So he tends to isolate himself, and he tends to have a difficult time interacting with other people. But as the novel progresses, he's pulled into the police investigation as a possible suspect, and he has to struggle with trying to solve the murder and the stolen manuscript, and also struggle personally with being forced outside of his routine. Somebody with Asperger's will have a very specific routine, and Daniel, for the month that the story follows, is outside of his routine, and he has to struggle with that.
Okay. And this book takes place in Denmark?
It does.
Yeah, and you're not from Denmark?
I am not from Denmark, no.
What kind of research did you do before the book? Have you lived in Denmark, or?
I lived in Denmark 30 years ago as an exchange student in Kolding. That was my first experience in Denmark, and I have been back several times since then. I started in college and graduate school to translate Danish literature into English. I was a philosophy student in college, so I read Kierkegaard in English translation, some of it in Danish, but it's hard to understand Kierkegaard. So I had those experiences in Denmark, and then in terms of research, I spent some time doing on-the-ground research here in Copenhagen. I met with researchers at the Kierkegaard Research Center. I went to the police station and talked with homicide detectives and did that kind of research, which was wonderful. And the people that I met with were very accommodating. I would send them an email, could you meet with me? And they said, yeah. So I had all these Danes that I got to meet with, and they gave me help in putting my novel together. Yeah.
And why are you so fascinated by Kierkegaard?
Well, I think on a personal level, he has a orientation to Christian faith that I appreciate. Kierkegaard lived in a time when everyone considered himself or herself a Christian, and he thought maybe they were mistaken in that, and maybe the matter of being a Christian is more difficult and more complicated than they thought. So the way that Kierkegaard presents his theology is kind of personally important to me. I like reading his books, especially the ones where he doesn't pretend to be someone else. Yeah.
What motivates you to write the stories?
Oh, you mean in general?
In general, yeah.
I think for me, the story often comes from a possible learning experience of my own, right? So when I started this novel, I knew whether it is a novel that is published or not published, is enjoyed or not enjoyed, I was going to learn something from researching Kierkegaard. So I spent 4 years reading and rereading Kierkegaard and doing this research and writing. And you know, it's kind of like in poker where you hedge your bets. You know, whether I win or lose, you know, it's gonna be all right for me. I'll get something out of this. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, the writing often comes from something that I'm interested in, curious about, and I can study it and I can learn it. And once I have done that, then I can transform it into fiction or poetry. I also write poetry.
So how long have you said it took you 4 years to do?
Well, I started this in 2009, and I wrote it, I rewrote it, I rewrote it, and then I rewrote it. So there must be 1,000 or more pages that I've thrown out. And it's still 300 pages long, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
You know, they saved that many.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that was...
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the interview. Yep.